Once upon a time, there was a man named Ettore Bugatti. He was an Italian artist who just happened to build cars in France. And when I say artist, I mean it. His cars, from the very beginning in 1909, were not just machines to get from A to B. They were rolling sculptures, masterpieces of engineering and design that were as beautiful as they were fast. They dominated the early days of motor racing, with cars like the Type 35 winning thousands of races. It was a brand built on pure passion, elegance, and the simple desire to be the absolute best, no questions asked. People with taste and a lot of money simply had to have one. But here's the problem with passion: it doesn't always pay the bills. Ettore was a perfectionist, you see. He spent a fortune on making every single bolt and every single stitch of leather absolutely perfect. This meant his cars were fantastically expensive to build, and therefore fantastically expensive to buy. While other companies were learning how to make cars for the masses, Bugatti was making cars for kings and queens. This was brilliant for the brand's image, but it was a terrible business model. The market for ultra-expensive toys was and still is incredibly small, making the company financially fragile from the start. Then, a series of tragedies struck that would test the company to its very core. The Great Depression hit, and suddenly, even the kings and queens were tightening their belts. Nobody was buying extravagant cars. Worse still, Ettore's talented son, Jean Bugatti, who was poised to take over the company, was tragically killed while testing a car in 1939. This was a devastating personal and professional blow. The final nail in the coffin was World War II, which destroyed the factory in Molsheim. Ettore's dream was in ruins, and the company he had built with so much heart was left gasping for air. After the war, a few attempts were made to revive the brand, but the magic was gone. Ettore passed away in 1947, and without its brilliant, stubborn founder, the company simply couldn't find its footing. The world had changed. People wanted practical, affordable cars, not exquisite works of art that cost a fortune to run. The original Bugatti company produced its last car in the 1950s and then, with a heavy heart, shut its doors. The legendary name, once the symbol of automotive excellence, faded into silence, becoming little more than a beautiful memory for car historians and collectors to talk about. For decades, the Bugatti name lay dormant. It was like a sleeping giant, a legend whispered among car enthusiasts but absent from the modern world. The factory was quiet, the drawing boards were empty, and the roar of a new Bugatti engine was a sound no one had heard in a generation. The brand existed only in history books and at classic car shows, where its pre-war masterpieces would still draw crowds and win awards. It was a sad state of affairs for a name that had once stood for the pinnacle of performance and luxury, a ghost of its former glorious self. Then, in the late 1980s, an ambitious Italian entrepreneur named Romano Artioli decided to wake the giant. He bought the famous name and built a brand new, state-of-the-art factory in Italy, not France. His dream was to create a modern supercar that would live up to the Bugatti legend. The result was the Bugatti EB110, a technological marvel for its time. It had a V12 engine, 4 turbochargers, and all-wheel drive. It was incredibly fast and looked like a proper spaceship. For a moment, it seemed like the epic comeback was on. The world held its breath, waiting to see if Bugatti could reclaim its throne. However, history has a funny way of repeating itself, especially the bad parts. Just like Ettore, Artioli was a man of immense passion who spared no expense. The EB110 was fantastically complicated and cost a ridiculous amount of money to develop and build. He poured his heart, soul, and a colossal fortune into the project. The car was brilliant, yes, but it was launched right as a global recession hit in the early 1990s. The market for super expensive supercars vanished overnight. Sound familiar? It was the same sad story all over again. Despite critical acclaim and a small group of dedicated buyers, the company simply couldn't sell enough cars to stay afloat. The numbers just didn't add up. The dream turned into a financial nightmare, and in 1995, Bugatti declared bankruptcy for the second time in its history. The beautiful new factory was closed, and the EB110 project was finished. It was a heartbreaking failure. The sleeping giant had been woken up only to be knocked out cold again. It seemed that the Bugatti curse was real, and the brand was destined to remain a relic of the past. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a new hero entered the story. And it wasn't a passionate Italian artist or a flamboyant entrepreneur. It was a giant, powerful, and very German car company, the Volkswagen Group. In 1998, under the leadership of the ambitious Ferdinand Piëch, Volkswagen bought the rights to the Bugatti brand. Now you might think, Volkswagen? The people who make the Golf and the Beetle, what do they want with Bugatti? Well, Peach had a vision so mad, so gloriously bonkers, that only a company with bottomless pockets could even attempt it. His plan was not just to revive Bugatti, but to make it the undisputed king of the entire automotive world. He didn't want to build just another supercar. He wanted to build a car that would rewrite the rule book entirely. He set his engineers a list of impossible demands. The car had to have over 1,000 horsepower. It had to be able to go faster than 400 kilometers per hour, about 250 miles per hour. And most importantly, it had to do all of this while still being a comfortable, luxurious car that you could drive to the opera without breaking a sweat. It was a challenge that bordered on insanity. To achieve this, Volkswagen poured an unbelievable amount of money and technological genius into the project. They didn't just tweak an existing engine, they invented a new one. They created the now legendary 8-liter quad-turbocharged W16 engine, basically two V8 engines bolted together. They developed special tires that wouldn't explode at 250 miles per hour, and a braking system that could stop a small planet. Everything had to be bigger, stronger, and more advanced than anything that had ever been put in a road car before. It was less like car manufacturing and more like a space program. This was the turning point. For the first time, the passion of the Bugatti name was backed by the industrial might and financial stability of one of the world's largest automakers. They could afford the years of research, the countless failed prototypes, and the mind-boggling development costs without going bankrupt. Volkswagen's engineering discipline tamed Bugatti's wild artistic spirit and gave it a solid foundation. The German giant provided the power and the money, and the French brand provided the soul and the legendary name. It was the perfect marriage, and it was about to give birth to a monster. The result of all that German money and mad ambition was unveiled in 2005. It was called the Bugatti Veyron, and it didn't just move the goalposts, it launched them into a different galaxy. With 1,001 horsepower and a top speed of 407 kilometers per hour, 253 miles per hour, it was officially the fastest production car in the world. It was a technical triumph, a car that did everything Ferdinand Piëch had demanded. It was brutally fast, yet surprisingly easy to drive. It was an engineering statement that shouted to the world, "We are Bugatti, and we are back." The Veyron wasn't just a car, it was a legend reborn. Following up an icon like the Veyron is no easy task, but Bugatti did it again. In 2016, they introduced the Chiron. If the Veyron was a statement, the Chiron was a full-blown declaration of war on the laws of physics. It took the W16 engine and cranked the power up to an even more ludicrous 1,500 horsepower. It was more beautiful, more luxurious, and, of course, even faster. A special version, the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus, became the first production car to officially break the mythical 300 mph barrier. These cars became instant icons, owned by celebrities, billionaires, and people who wanted the ultimate automotive trophy. So, why is Bugatti so famous today? It's because it represents the absolute peak of what is possible with a car. It's a company that operates in a world beyond normal limits, where cost is no object and the only goal is to achieve perfection. Bugatti doesn't sell cars, it sells dreams. It sells the idea that if you have enough passion, enough money, and enough engineering genius, you can defy expectations and create something truly extraordinary. In a world of electric cars and autonomous driving, Bugatti remains a glorious, fire-breathing monument to the internal combustion engine. Today, the brand stands as a symbol of ultimate luxury and mind-bending performance. It has successfully blended its historic artistic soul with cutting-edge technology to create a category all of its own, the hypercar. From the brink of extinction, not once, but twice, Bugatti has roared back to become more powerful and more desirable than ever before. It's a testament to the enduring power of a legendary name and a reminder that sometimes the most insane ideas are the ones that change the world. For the car world, Bugatti is proof that impossible is nothing.